When did poverty become a character flaw? Were we heads down, working on this problem in our own various ways? When some political, cultural decision was made that the poor are somehow morally inferior, less human than we are? Or did our leaders arrive at a diagnosis of poverty as a disease that people bring on themselves? So we try to treat it symptom by symptom, never facing up to its systematic cause. Now, maybe I'm mischaracterizing what looks to me like a terrible decline in public understanding and sympathy. But my daily work is in fighting poverty, and I think it is the families who I work with who have been mischaracterized. As I've done this work, I've stumbled onto something that seems worth sharing. And I mean stumbled. I didn't train to become an entrepreneur or a CEO, yet I run a nonprofit that is rapidly growing. I didn't train as an animal wrangler, yet I am surrounded by faces like these every day. And I'm not an economist, but the only way I know to introduce what I do is to talk about poverty, and the most important thing I've learned about it by working to end it. We live in one of the wealthiest nations in the world, but the number of people living beneath the poverty line has averaged between 12 to 15% of the population for most of the half-past century. This was true in the expansion of the 80s, the boom of the 90s, the Great Recession of 2007-2009. And it's true today, with a slow but sustained recovery, with millions of jobs created, rising wages, and unemployment now around 4%. Poverty affects women and children disproportionately. Kids under 18 are more likely to be affected than any other group, and significantly more women than men. How single mothers survive poverty echoes down through the generations that follow. We've applied vast institutional resources to the poverty problem at federal, state, and local levels. There are many nonprofits working at it, but they're mostly working to solve one part of the problem and competing with every other nonprofit for funding. Why would they work together with a competitor to address the systemic nature of poverty rather than the piece of it that is their specific mission? In our own small ways, most of us here have probably tried to help with our money and compassion and time. But all of this effort hasn't really moved the needle since the 1960s. Why? Yes, poverty is a systemic problem, but what does that really mean? It means it has many parts. These parts seem like distinct problems unto themselves, but you can't solve any of them if you only try to solve one. The problems connect. One of these fundamental connections is generational. Barbie is like a lot of single moms I have worked with in other programs in the city. If they had jobs at all, they found themselves losing their housing aid, food stamps, Medicaid, and child care benefits, if they had them to begin with. Now they're falling into a deeper hole than ever. We call this the benefits cliff, and you can land at the bottom of it within weeks of becoming employed, earning $10 to $12 an hour. This is how families get stuck in the welfare system for generations. Barbie's grandfather raised her. He was a major player in the Kansas City crime family, and she learned the family business from an early age. Her mom was an addict, her dad was on the run since he was born, and still is. Barbie cooked and sold meth for 20 years. When I met her, she was 38, living in a recovery shelter. She had 4 kids, never had a legal job in her life. Her felony record made it nearly impossible for her to get a minimum wage job at Sonic. Barbie did work for me in the office in exchange for a bedroom for her and her daughters. She didn't know that her 1.5-year-old needed to be in a car seat, or that that car seat needed to be buckled into a car. But she did know to keep your doors locked when going through the McDonald's drive-thru, to wear tennis shoes, not heels, on St. John's Ave, and to look people in the eye. It's harder for somebody to shoot you if you're looking at them. One day I took Barbie to court to advocate on her behalf to regain full custody of her kids. Her mom was in the front seat of my SUV talking about her days in addiction. Barbie was in the middle row talking about the time she accidentally shot part of the roof off the house with a shotgun. Her 9-year-old daughter was in the back row. She laughed and said, "Oh, I remember that." My son was also 9 at the time, and I could not imagine him watching a crime show where this happened, let alone an everyday family memory. When I was at the recovery shelter, I interviewed 20 homeless families, and I asked them all for childhood memories. They told stories of severe abuse, neglect, and addiction. Most ended up raising themselves on the streets or in and out of group homes. When I thought of my own bad childhood memories, they consisted of the time when I broke my ankle on the trampoline, when the boy I liked didn't like me back, or when my parents grounded me for 2 months for sneaking out, and my friends only got grounded for 2 weeks. Not the time my mom threw me out of a 2-story window and then I went to live with Dad. Not when my dad raped me from the time I was 6 years old until I ran away at 13. And not when Mom locked me in the closet from morning until night because she was high. If these were my memories, I would be living in a shelter too. I couldn't fix the past, but I wanted to figure out a way to move forward so that their friends would not have to experience what they did. I could see the cycle. They never had a parent that was a good role model, but parenting skills didn't even make the to-do list. They were in survival mode. Barbie decided it was time to change her life, not the first, second, or even 5th time she was on the highway left to die. But when a drug deal went bad and her children's lives were threatened, she said to me, "How did they know my daughter's name?" Now, if all Barbie did was quit dealing, we really haven't given her a chance to succeed. Not only does she have to replace income, but she has to get childcare and learn how to work with people and schedules and a whole lot of other things to do a job that's legal, but frankly doesn't have the family flexibility of drug dealing. Statistics only tell you so much, but here are some numbers about one of our students. Lana has 5 kids, 14 warrants, 1 broken car with 0 tags, 0 GED, 0 childcare, job, 0, home, 0. Where does Lana even begin? She begins by giving up. Parents living in poverty are in a hole so deep they can't dig their way out. If all you hand them is a shovel, they'll sell it to keep their kids from starving that day. Think of it in Maslow's terms. Until Lana has her basic needs met, food, shelter, safety for her and her kids, there's no welfare to work transition. There's no dignity to rob by offering social assistance, but there's also no long-term benefit. Lana is under Maslow's pyramid. She's in a flattened world of 2 dimensions, exhaustion and anxiety, sometimes with addiction slipping in. There's no room for parenting in that world. This is the parenting trap. The help that Lana and her kids need is systemic. At EPIC, or Empowering the Parent to Empower the Child, we think that that system needs to include an industry that pays a living wage, is in demand, is family flexible, and is felon-friendly. Then to that job training, we add life skills, parenting, budgeting, time management, etc. Then we connect that family with housing, childcare, health, mental health, a whole community of support. At EPIC, we've zeroed in on dog grooming. The industry meets all 4 of our criteria, plus there's a pet therapy bonus. At the Grooming Project, we train people to groom dogs. But if all we did was job training, it would be a failure. To get people into the jobs we're training them for, we have to address the system. That means if you enter the program and you commit and you hang in there for the 30-day trial period, we're all in. We help you get housing, childcare, health, mental health, dental, nutrition. We work on interviewing skills, financial management, other life skills over the 2 years of your commitment. When you get out of the program, you hit the ground grooming. So this is the model. I chose dog grooming part because my mom was in the business, and I knew she was always looking for more groomers. Because of the demand, the pay is high. Good groomers can earn $50,000 a year, and we turn out good groomers. So far, we've supported all of this by fundraising our hearts out. As Barbie will tell you, raising money for a nonprofit is surprisingly similar to running a criminal enterprise. But we love our donors, and they love seeing real, measurable results. Here's why our little canine Cosa Nostra is a good bet. It's because we're taking on the whole thing from all sides. It's the only way I know to do it. Everything else seems like blindly holding on to the tail of an elephant and saying an elephant is like a whip. A while back, Barbie wrote me a letter, and towards the end of it, she said, "You inspire me to deal with the hand that I've been dealt and make it so I can go on every day." But see, that's not me. That's a complete system of support that lifted her up high enough to see, maybe for the first time, what might actually be possible for her. She's riding on the elephant's back, and now helping others to climb up there with her. So far it works. They work. 100% job placement. In our first full year of programming, we saw over 80% retention in employment post 6 months, and over 60% of our trainees came off of social services and became self-sufficient in under a year. Think about that. Imagine that you're me, and you've just heard of a change to the SNAP program that you know a lot of your trainees have depended on. So you call and leave messages for them. And what do you hear back? Text after text saying, "Thanks for the heads up, but I'm not on food stamps anymore." There's a parallel there for us. As we extend EPIC and expand the program into other cities, our goal is to be self-sustaining. Barbie and I will not miss hustling that money. Meanwhile, we've started a microfinancing business for our trainees to stay out of the payday loan spiral. We've partnered with housing to build dorms for our homeless families. And we're doing a startup incubator for our most promising trainees to go into business for themselves. The arc is from grooming dogs for a living to grooming your life. And what that means for the families of these women is kids never have to enter the cycle of poverty to try and break it. It's been broken. These women broke it. Barbie is proof. Barbie once said to me, "If you're going to invest in something, invest in a person." It's not the first thing that she said to me that I wish that I had said, and it won't be the last. It seems obvious, but so does this, and I'm going to say it anyway. Poverty is not a character flaw. It's not an impossible, intractable problem. It's a built-in feature of every economy on Earth. But if we take on that whole feature, we can build it back out. We can smash it. Thank you.